Good morning.
Yeah. So
Hi,
we
Carol.
we're going to do a lesson, well, for the shoulders, right? For the shoulders.
That's what you say.
But it might be for Lord knows what. So go ahead and lie down, and I will mute you so that clocks and barking dogs and air raid sirens, whatever's going on in your background, won't disturb us. And so the lesson is done on the back. You'll need a wee bit of space over the top of your head. Feldenkrais says 10 centimeters. Now, does anybody know what 10 centimeters is? Probably Pete does. But I had to look it up. It's 4 inches. You'll need 4 inches over the top of your head. Eventually. So make yourselves comfy on your spot, on your mat. Sense your breathing. The light in the room. Your orientation in space, where things are above you, below you, to the sides of you. Your length. And listen to all the joints in the legs, the ankles, the heels resting on the floor, behind the knees, at the hip joints where they join the pelvis, from the spine, all the way from the tailbone through the back, the lower back, mid back, the neck, and the head. Especially in this lesson, listen to your shoulder blades. Listen to your right shoulder blade and your left shoulder blade so that we can see what happens to them during the lesson. And the area of the spine in between your shoulder blades. So now, please interlace your fingers and bring your hands over the top of your head. And rest them on the floor so that the palms of your hands are looking at the top of your head, about 4 inches above, 10 centimeters. Notice how far, so some of you, the elbows will lay very flat on the floor as though you've been filleted, and others, the elbows will be away from the floor. So rest as you need to for your own shoulder comfort, but let's stand the left foot. Stand the left foot and stand it not too close to the other leg. So we want to find a trajectory of pushing through the left foot so that the left side of the pelvis lifts and you grow taller. So it's not about rolling. So first, let's think about growing taller. First, make that connection from the left foot to go up towards the hands. As the spine goes up towards the hands. And then start to direct more clearly the force from the left foot into your left elbow. So that if I'm sorry, I meant your right elbow. Your right elbow, so that if your right elbow is sort of hovering over the floor, you would gradually be able to lay it down because you'd be pushing the body so that the right elbow could rest on the floor. And do that many times. And so now I'm going to start adding some constraints. so you're pushing the left foot, and going up through the spine and over the shoulder blade. You can start there. Just think of pressing a line of force, sending pressure over the right shoulder blade and into the upper arm, into the elbow. Pay attention to what the ribs are doing that are over the shoulder blade and below it. And go slowly, take care of yourself. Rest your arms if you need to. Or now the other constraint I wanted to add was the left knee, because some of you were rolling so that you could place your right elbow on the floor, but we want to keep the knee relatively motionless so it won't lean, and the pelvis will turn to the right. It'll turn away from the inner thigh. Yeah, and that's a good idea. So if the shoulders are an issue, you can do it with just one arm on the floor, just the right arm. Adapt the lesson as you need to. And think of the body as softening. The weight of the body rolling over the shoulder blade is softening those ribs, softening the shoulders, softening the weight of the body to soften the bones, the joints. And then whenever we rest, or whenever you rest, which might be before I suggest it, please make sure that you take the arms down slowly, because this is a big lesson for the shoulder blades, and so we don't want to move abruptly. So let's all take a rest. Looks like people need to take a rest. And now let's reverse the whole situation. So interlace your fingers non-habitually. Bring them overhead. So the thumbs are resting on the floor. Palms of the hands are looking at the top of the head. And stand your right foot and stand it far enough to the sides that you can find a good, clear, diagonal trajectory from pushing the foot and lifting the right hip joint and the pelvis turning, and passing the weight of the body through the pelvis diagonally to the left shoulder blade. To the left shoulder blade. And the ribs one by one, like what? Like piano keys, maybe? Setting down on the floor. And maybe the left elbow starts to set down on the floor. And you could turn your head. You could turn your head in the direction of your left elbow, if that's comfortable. You don't have to see the left elbow, but what do you need to do with your head? Take your eyes in the direction of the left elbow. Do you feel your left elbow getting pushed longer? Using the foot to push the skeleton through the left shoulder so that the right shoulder could come away from, the right shoulder and elbow could come away from the floor. That's allowed. And what happens in that shoulder blade? Turn the head, look towards the left elbow. Let the left elbow settle onto the ground and get a little longer. And what happens with the right elbow when the left elbow gets longer? What's happening in the opposite side? Very nice. Okay. Okay, looks like things are starting to connect. Slowly, slowly bring your arms down and take a rest. What fits differently on the floor? Has your breathing adjusted, changed? Stand your left foot again. Interlace your fingers. Just mindfully know how you're interlacing them. Bring them over the head to rest on the floor, 4 inches, 10 centimeters. And again, the same steps. Push the left foot. Push the left foot. Maybe this goes easier now. Push the skeleton up and towards the right elbow, and start to turn the eyes to look at the elbow, which means does your head need to roll, or does it need to turn and slide? So you can experiment with, you roll the head, can you see the elbow? The other elbow can leave the floor, that's fine. But if you slid the head, if you took your eyes from the right elbow along your forearm, what would happen to the back of your neck? What would you need to do so that you could possibly look at the palm of your right hand? Look at the palm of your right hand. That's quite a different story. And maybe just that idea helps you look at the elbow better. Maybe it's too early for you to take your head that far back to look at the palm of the hand, but you play with that. But it is a lifting, an arcing of the upper back away from the floor, and the shoulder blades are pressing into the back. There we go. You take care of yourself. Now, if you start to pay attention that you don't lose contact with your left knee. Some of you, it's starting to lean pretty precariously over to the right. So stand the foot and stand on it. Stand on it. Balance a small child on your knee and let the pelvis, let that be a constraint. It's not about rolling to the side, it's about spiraling. Yeah, maybe you need the leg to be wider, further away from the other leg. You'll find it. You'll find it. Just make the feeling nice. Make it a nice feeling for yourself. And the right elbow gets longer. The skeleton goes up. And slowly, slowly, let's take a rest before we do the other side. If you're enjoying this, by all means continue. Take a little rest. When you're ready, interlace your fingers, the opposite of how you just interlace them. Stand your other foot. Place your hands, your arms above your head. And start pressing with the foot, leaning on the right foot, lifting the right hip joint, turning the pelvis, pressing the left shoulder blade into the floor, and starting to use the eyes to go along the arm to the elbow, and from the elbow along the forearm to the left palm. Not all at once, but take many times to get there. Many steps. And then if you get there, pause a moment, or wherever you get, whatever your boundary is, stay a little shy of it. But once you get to where you feel like, ta-da, what's your right knee doing? Did it falter? Did you cheat? So correct it, so that you have a nice bridge from your foot, through your pelvis, and through your spine. Yes, nice. Get a little differentiation there in the hip joint. And you can notice, rest as you need to, but you can notice, what is it that's hanging this up? Where is the difficulty? Where is the obstacle? And play around with yourself, your spine, the angle of the leg, the position of the foot. Play around with yourself to find out how you can inhibit the difficulty. So in other words, what are you doing? Can you discover what you are doing that's unconscious, that's keeping you from doing what you want to do? So it's very exploratory. You have to shape shift. Send your mind here and there and try this and try that. Make it simple, simpler, clearer, smoother. That's nice. Yes, good, good. The knees aren't leaning so much. Good. Let's take a rest. What are the what are the feelings in the shoulder blades and the chest? Stand your right foot again. Hello, kitty. Stand your right foot again. And move your pelvis out of the way so that you can slip your right hand beneath your lower back. Slip your right hand beneath your lower back. If that doesn't work, maybe sit on your hand. Bring it under your right buttock. But if you can, bring your right hand beneath your lower back. And now lengthen down your right leg. So both legs will be long. And you'll be lying on your right hand. And begin to roll the body a little right and left. And how do you do that? How do you roll the body? And now simply lift the shoulder. Lift the right shoulder from the floor many times. Just that. The legs are long, simple movement. And what do you press into the floor to enable the right shoulder to lift? And can you let your head turn away from the shoulder when you lift it? So that the intention is left, the intention is to the left. The right shoulder lifts. Uh-oh, sorry about that. Pause if you need to, and continue to lift, or you can pause with the head turning, and continue to lift the right shoulder, but keep the face oriented towards the ceiling. So the shoulder is independent of the neck. And then can you do that movement? Feldenkrais is asking us to do that movement 20 times. And to do it lightly as you can, but a little quicker. See if you can find a little differentiation between the head, the neck, the upper back, and the shoulder. And when you've drummed your shoulder 20 times, go ahead and slowly pull your arm out. And then bring your left foot to standing so that you can navigate your left hand behind your back. And lengthen down the left leg and lie with your left hand behind your back. And just tiny, tiny, tiny bit, roll a little bit. Roll the body a little bit. And then stand, no, we keep the legs long, forgive me. We keep the legs long, the left hand is behind the back. And you just lift the left shoulder. You lift the left shoulder and the weight transfers over to the right shoulder and the head can turn. And where do you press the floor to get the leverage to pull the left shoulder away from the floor? And this is interesting. It's an interesting question. So you might feel that it's the elbow. You press the elbow down and the shoulder lifts. But what if you pressed the back a little more into your hand? What if you could press the back into the hand and it's sort of further away, but you could use the pressure of the lower back to lift the left shoulder and to turn the head to the right. Maybe you press with your left heel and the lower back and the shoulder. But more places can press the floor to lift the left shoulder. Sort of a chain of events. And then leave the shoulder, I'm sorry, leave the head and just flutter the shoulder quickly, 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 20 times. See if you can make it smooth. Make it smooth. It's not the body rocking. It's not the head turning. It's just the shoulder. See if you can uncouple the movement, the fusion that you might be having in your cervical spine with the shoulder. And it might be very tiny movement, very tiny hummingbird wings. And it looks like many of you are pulling your arms out from behind your back, so let's all do that and take a rest. Stand your right foot again so that you can bring again your right hand behind your back. Now lengthen down your right leg and place your left leg standing. And push everything to the right, the head, the body, but lift the right shoulder from the floor. So you're turning into your right shoulder. The body turns into the right shoulder, which comes away from the floor. The elbow stays on the floor. What about that left knee? Oh, good. Good job. So you're turning the head towards the shoulder, but everything else is pushing to the right. The right shoulder comes away from the floor. And listen to this relationship of the right shoulder and the left hip joint. This diagonal. They come closer together. It's like the diagonal line across the front of the body from the left hip joint to the front of the right shoulder. It shortens. It closes, it softens, it yields. With the greatest of ease. Do this with the greatest of ease. And then take your hand out and slowly and pause. Find a way to bring your left hand behind your body, again, behind your back. And stand your right foot. Have it not too close to the other leg so that you can push the whole body to the left. The head, the belly, the pelvis, everything to the left, but bring the left shoulder away from the floor. And listen to the timing, the pressure, the shoulder, the pelvis, the relationship. When does the head turn? And can you work to refine this so that the shoulder coming away from the floor and the head turning towards it become one movement? They fuse as one movement. So it's not the shoulder lifts and then you start thinking about turning the head, but they move as one with a clear intention. The head is opposing the movement of the shoulder. The shoulder is opposing the movement of the head. The left shoulder joint and the right hip joint. Listen to that timing. And the diagonal across the front of the body, from the front of the pelvis on the right to the front of the left shoulder. Closing the gap. It's a diagonal line. You can just think it. The head turns to the left. The head turns to the left. The head turns to the left as the left shoulder comes away from the floor. There we go. And let's take a rest. Okay. Find a way to bring both hands under the body. And the right hand will be resting on the back of the left hand. So you might need to lift your pelvis, or however you're going to get your pelvis out of the way. So you can slip your hands behind your body. Your right hand resting on the back of your left hand on the floor behind you. And lengthen down both the legs. Spread the legs. And softly roll from right to left. Softly roll from right to left. So the constraint is the hands lying under the body, the elbows on the floor. Think of your body softening, softening, softening. Rolling something out. And pay attention that the movement of the pelvis right and left is symmetrical. So make it better. That doesn't mean larger, but pay attention that the right and the left are the same. Start to equalize the hemispheres in the brain. The image of the movement in the brain. What presses the floor to enable you to roll? Can you equalize that on both sides? And slowly, slowly bring that to a pause. Pull your arms out and rest. What's the difference in sensation in how your shoulders lie on the ground? Your shoulder blades, your neck. And go ahead and stand your feet so that you can move your pelvis out of the way and bring your hands again behind your back, but this time with your left hand resting on the back of your right hand. And if you did this lesson a couple of days ago, you might be able, you can check it out for yourself, you might be able to bring the hands further behind you, which means further behind the chest. Not further across right and left, but further up towards the chest. Or you might be able to do that anyway. And then lengthen down your legs and comfortably, easily roll the body right and left. With the hands trapped underneath you, the left hand resting on the right. Equal movements right and left. Equal movements right and left. And now if your head is rolling, leave the head quiet. Leave the head quiet so that we can again make that distinction between the seventh cervical and the neck. And now move the head with the body. Now move the head with the body. So when the body rolls to the right, the head turns to the right, the face turns to the right. And then slowly bring that to a close and rest. Pay attention what this is doing for your back, to your back and to your shoulder blades and the chest while you lie there. Stand your feet again. Bring your hands behind your back again, but this time bring them higher up. But only if you can do that without pain. Only if you can do that easily and without pain. So the right hand will be resting on the back of the left hand, and you've moved your arms higher up along the ribs, along the spine. So the elbows will be down. This is sort of approaching the yoga pose, the cow. Lengthen down the legs again and begin to roll the body to the right and to the left, but instead of rolling the head with the movement, turn the head in the direction of the shoulder that's lifting away from the floor. So again, we're moving in opposition, the head to the shoulder. And can you make that in one movement? The face turns towards the shoulder as it comes away from the floor in one smooth and easy movement. Right and left. The legs are long. How do you use them? Try spreading them a bit more, Pete. Yes. Yeah, good. And slowly pull your arms out and take a rest. When you're ready, bring your hands again behind your back, You can stand your feet to get them out of your pelvis out of the way. And see if you can bring them even better up behind your ribs, closer to your heart. The left hand will be on top of the right, but only higher only if it's comfortable. Do not force. You can wrench your shoulders. Do not get ambitious and wrench your shoulders, and you'll blame me. So if you can, bring the hands higher up behind the chest. The left hand is on top of the right. Lengthen down the legs. And begin to roll the body right and left and turn the head towards the lifting shoulder. And listen to which side is easier and smoother and more pleasant to do. And then sort of muck about, sort of listen to what you might do differently on the side that is not as good as the good side. What could you do differently with yourself that makes it feel as good as the other side? Does that mean you do it slower? You do it less? You try a different trajectory? You think of where you press the floor? Could you somehow organize this movement so that the rolling, the turning is coming from somewhere in your center of gravity, somewhere in your pelvis, somewhere about where you press the back into the floor, which might not be resting on the floor because the arms are in the way. And make this one movement. The head towards the shoulder is one movement. One movement. Not an afterthought. Let's take a rest. What have we done? Everything is so flat. So we'll revisit this lesson again because there is one more step. It took me 3 times to figure out how to do it, but so we won't go there today, but let's go back to the first thing we did, which is interlacing the fingers, bringing them over the head on the floor. Is this easier? Feel it. Palms of the hands shining like a light onto the top of your head, or maybe the light from the top of your head is shining into your palms. And stand your left foot. Stand your left leg, your left foot, and push and roll and turn the body so the right elbow is pushed long, and you turn the face and the eyes towards the elbow. And now, is it easier to draw your eyes along the forearm and to the palm of your hand? All in one movement. You push the foot, you turn the head, you look into the palm. What happens in the shoulder blades behind the back? The cervical spine, the back of the neck, the ribs. The head sliding on the floor to get out of the way. Get out of your way. You get out of your own way. Rest if you need to, but if you feel comfortable in this position, simply change the interlacing of the fingers and feel, what does that change? What does that change? It's so odd. What does it change? And exchange your left leg down for your right foot standing. And think it through. Think it through. The pressure through the hip joint, through the pelvis, turning the body, the eyes turning to look, the head doing what it needs to do to get out of the way, to draw the eyes towards the elbow, and then further upwards to see the palm of the hand. Maybe. And in that direction. The head has to get out of the way. Feel what the opposite shoulder is doing. The shoulder blades. How you might even gain some leverage for this through your head. It's like making a bridge from your foot to your head. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's leave the lesson there for today, and we'll revisit it maybe in a few weeks and add that one last step. Or maybe we'll even do it next week. So feel what this lesson has done for you, to you. I guess to you would be bad. For you is good. How your chest and shoulders fit on the ground. Your chest and your breathing. Your sense of yourself. And it's a beautiful day. I hope you have a lovely weekend.